Let me tell you why you're here.
I've seen things.
Oh my god.
Whoa, yeah! You don't stop and look around once in a while, you could miss it.
Guaranteed to jack you up.
Yo, what is going on, my dudes? It's your host, LamarStaysWeird, coming to you once again, out of sight, out of mind. I am glad you guys are here to tune in for another episode, and today we're going to be talking about a movie I love, and the more I watch it, I do start to have this one little nitpick about it, but it's not a huge deal. But I love this movie, and as you can tell by the title, because I'm assuming you already saw it and you clicked on it, we're going to be talking about 2013's Evil Dead. Now, this is my favorite Evil Dead in the franchise. All right, I could probably talk about the whole series one day, but I wanted to cover this one specifically because it's very separated from the other movies, and I really like it. It's so dark, it's gritty, it's gory, it's amazing. Like I love it. The characters are kind of cool, or at least the lead character, our final girl, Mia. Love her. Love Mia. Fucking badass, man. She's such a badass final girl that doesn't get talked about enough. And now I know the people listening won't be able to tell, but I have this amazing shirt from Halftone Horror. I'll make sure to have links somewhere to go check out their clothes. Their Instagram is awesome. They have such amazing clothes. Like, bro, look at this beautiful red tie-dye. Like, come on. This is fucking sexy. This is a sexy ass shirt, man. I love this shirt so fucking much. Whenever I saw they were doing this, I immediately hopped on it. Hats off to them. They're always doing some really awesome shit. Evil Dead 2013. Now, it is not a remake and it's not a reboot. It's something. A lot of people refer to it as different things, but I don't really know what to refer to it as. I kind of just like that it's just there. But this is the fourth movie in the Evil Dead franchise. And like I said, this one's my favorite. This one came out on April 5th, 2013. So if you have that birthday, fucking awesome, man. That's pretty sick. Now, I think this is a really good one. I know some of the characters, and this is my nitpick I wanted to get into. A lot of the characters aren't that developed. You can't really get to care about a lot of them, which kind of sucks. And I feel like this is something that's happened over time that I've started to develop, that I want to care more about the characters. And I have to give credit to Ty West's ex, because in that movie, every character is so likable. Every single one of them is a good person. And I'm not saying characters have to be good people. They don't have to be. Nobody's full good, nobody's full bad. You know, it's just all muddy and gray. But I like that I cared about each character in that movie. It was nice. It felt so good. And then it kind of sucked to see them all die. But being a horror fan, I want to see all these people die. Like that's what I wanted. That's what I'm there for. So it's such a weird thing, but I enjoyed it so much. And I feel like ever since that movie, that's what I crave. I want characters I care about. It's like, yo, I want to see people that don't really want to die, but they fucking die in some of the most horrible ways possible. And this movie does a really good job with their deaths. Everything is so like brutal. It's so gory, bloody. There was so much blood that they used for this. And I think back at that time, it was probably the bloodiest movie that came out. They used 70,000 gallons of fake blood on this movie. The original only had 200 to 300, and just 50,000 gallons alone was used for the ending of the movie. And if you have seen the movie, you know exactly why. There is so much blood in that ending, and I love how it looks, because I'm sure you guys have already heard it by now, and my girlfriend makes fun of me because of how I say it, but I love the color red. Obviously there's a lot of red. I know I talked about it in the last episode. There is so much red at the end of that movie. Like, she's wearing a red dress. It's raining blood. There's just puddles of blood. People are bleeding. There's other things going on I'll get into in a little bit. So much going on, but I fucking love it. It's great. All right, now let me get into a little bit of the synopsis, because I really dig this. This is something they did very well that I really, really enjoyed. So everybody knows those cabin in the woods types of movies. Everybody knows it's always somebody's cousin's, uncle's, sister's cabin that they rented out to go on vacation, spring break, whatever the fuck. There's always that. It gets a little tiresome hearing that, but then again, it's kind of, I don't know. It's definitely one of those things. It's just one of these white families that just has like property in the middle of fucking nowhere. And I think it's funny because one of my friends who I deeply adore, you know who you are, they I believe they have like a cabin somewhere as well, and they told me about it. And they're a white person that has a family that has money and stuff. So it's like dude, this is how horror movies start, by having a friend like you. This is how shit starts. And they always suggest, yo, one summer we should go do this real quick. You know, it'd be nice to go out there. Like, nobody really uses it. That's how shit starts, man. That's how it fucking goes. And it's funny. And I don't know. It's just one of those things. But it's a stereotype that it's like, oh, it gets kind of boring to hear over and over. It's like, but I mean, I now have a friend who has that. So I guess it makes fucking sense, like how it happens. But I like how this movie does this. It gives a whole different reason as to why these people are out there and why they don't want to leave or that they can't leave. It's a bit of both. So our protagonist, Mia, is somebody who has a heroin addiction and she wants to get clean. This is not the first time she's trying to get clean. So her friends had this idea, well, we know about your guys' family cabin, so we're going to go there. You're going to go through all the symptoms here. We're going to treat you here. Rehab centers didn't really do well for her or anything, so that's the reason for being out in the woods. And I love that. It is so good. And it also plays into the fact when shit starts to go weird and Mia is one of the first people to notice it and catch on, like, hey, yo, something is not chill out here and I want to go home. They're like, they're immediately dismissive. Nope, we're sticking it out. Because you need to do this. You need to get clean. This is for you, for your health. This has to happen. So it gives a really good reason for them to stay, and then a really good reason for the friends to doubt the main character, the person who could just be making this all up. It's all in their head and stuff because this person is an addict. So yeah, nobody wants to believe them. They're just going to think, oh, she's coming up with any excuse for us to leave. And they're not going to buy into that, and they're going to stick it out to the very end. So I think that's really fucking awesome. That was something that really impressed me when I first watched this movie. I'm pretty sure I watched this movie in theaters. I was 17 at the time, so I'm pretty sure, yeah. Now I'm going to go into a bit of the stats, and then we're going to go into the cast and so on and so forth. So this movie is sitting at a 6.5 on IMDb. I think that's probably pretty good. I think I gave this movie a 5 on Letterboxd, if I remember correctly. But that 6.5 is backed up with 196,000 reviews. So I think that's pretty damn good. 6.5 out of 10, pretty damn decent. And speaking of Letterboxd, it's sitting at a 3.4 out of 5 stars. Yeah, it seems pretty doable. And this movie was made on a $17 million budget and brought back $97.5 million. So obviously it was a success because they have 3 bangers of films right before it, and then this one coming out and looking so different from the rest of them, especially when the first one is a little campy, but it was taken serious. But because of just how long ago it was made, it is campy and kind of comes off comedic. But the second one, definitely comedic and plays up a lot of the campiness, which is good. You know, it's a good movie. And then the third one is full camp, all the way, pedal to the metal, making you laugh. And I wasn't sure I would like it, but I watched it for the first time last year and I really enjoyed it. I thought it was great. It was super funny. And honestly, it might be my second favorite. Yeah, so I got my Letterboxd pulled up right now, as you can see. Now, I do have Evil Dead 2013 as my number 1. Army of Darkness, which is the third film in the franchise, that is number 2, so I was right about that. The original Evil Dead as number 3, Evil Dead 2, number 4, and Evil Dead Rise at number 5. Now, I don't know if I'll ever cover Evil Dead Rise, but it was a movie. I might have to rewatch it. I don't know. I have a feeling I was expecting more of 2013. And I think it's a good balance in between the originals and 2013. But I didn't really care for it that much. But I will have to admit, and my girlfriend and I talked about this just last night, like from when I'm filming this. Alyssa Sutherland's Deadite is probably the hottest Deadite that there is. And I know I am not alone on that, because that shit was all over Twitter of everyone calling her mother and all this other stuff. She is by far the sexiest Deadite there is. I would say maybe Mia is number 2. I can't remember all the other ones, but I would say, yeah. Thing is, Mia looks a lot more like fucked up than Alyssa Sutherland. Alyssa Sutherland is beautiful, but I find her more attractive as the Deadite. I don't know what that means. I don't know what that says. That's just me. I don't know. I can't explain it, but we're going to move on from that. Or we're going to go into the cast of everything. So we have Mia, who's played by Jane Levy. Now, there's probably some people out there that are going to recognize her right off the bat. She played Rocky in Don't Breathe. And this is going to be something for a few people out there who may have also seen the show Shameless, which my girlfriend got me hooked on for a while, but now I just kind of refuse to watch the show. Jane Levy played Mandy Milkovich in Shameless. Didn't really see that coming, and it wasn't pointed out until my girlfriend told me, and I'm like, oh shit, like that's interesting. All right, not something I would have imagined. And then we have Mia's brother, David, played by Shiloh Fernandez. And I thought this was funny after doing some research, because I like to know where some of these people come from. He played a character named Trevor in Euphoria back in season 1, and he got a blowjob from Kat. But yeah, he played like some emo shop guy and got a blowjob from Kat in a car and hasn't really been seen since. So that was interesting. Didn't really see that coming. And then we have Olivia, who's played by Jessica Lucas. Now, I know her from Amanda Bynes' movie, She's the Man. She played Yvonne, who helped Viola, which was the fake Sebastian at the time, to get popular. So there's that. And there is this other movie I don't really see anybody fucking talk about that I might do a podcast on one day, because we need some wizards representation. And I'm not talking about Harry Potter. This is, I mean, full on, like, just witchy dudes. You know, I want more of this. And this movie was something. I still love it. I know I showed my girlfriend a few years ago, but we're definitely going to watch it again. But she was in there as well. She played Kate in 2006's The Covenant. Now, if you've seen that movie, I fucking love you. And I want you to tell me what you thought of it, because I thought it was a great movie, man. I mean, there's probably some stuff wrong with it. I mean, it is 2006, and the early 2000s is my least favorite time for horror movies, but I really enjoyed that movie, and it has some surprising people in it. Some people that were in Marvel, so if you guys want to know where they were in the early days, and I mean MCU Marvel, not like Sony or anything else. So I say check it out if you haven't, and you'll know it when you know. And then we have Eric, which is the most surprising shit I found out while watching this and researching. I wish I was recording my reaction, because I immediately was like, no fucking way, over and over and over again, because I was so like flabbergasted. Like my mind was blown. I was like, no fucking way. This guy and this guy is the same fucking dude. And it is. I had to double check. And I hate that I didn't notice it, because I watched this music video so many times in middle school, and I was just, oh fuck, I was just blown away. But we have the character Eric, who is played by Lou Taylor Pucci. I hope I'm saying that right. I don't really know how to pronounce his name, but Lou Taylor Pucci, he played Saint Jimmy in Green Day's Jesus of Suburbia music video. That blew my fucking mind. It's still hard for me to see the resemblance, because he had the Liberty spikes, he had the eyeliner and all these tattoos. I didn't see it, and now it's like, what the fuck, man? Like, really? And then there's something else, probably for my girlfriend and other people who watch the show. I'm not gonna watch the show because I don't really give a shit. He played Benji in You, which I'm not sure who the fuck that is, but I know You is a big deal to a lot of people. He played Benji. There you go. There's that, if you watch that show at all. And then our last notable character that we're going to talk about, who is not exactly a character. She's not in the movie that much. It's kind of like a little meh. And this is what I mean. I think the movie would have benefited being just a little bit longer, maybe spending more time with the characters, get a bit more relationship forming. It would have been something. That's kind of like my one critique of the movie that I think is legitimate. But we have Natalie, who's played by Elizabeth Blackmore. And I saw that she played a character named Valerie from The Vampire Diaries. Never saw it, but I know it's a big show, big deal. But a show that I really do enjoy, Supernatural, she was in that. As a woman of letters character, she was called Lady Tony Bavell. But yeah, she was in Supernatural. I fucking love Supernatural, okay? Jensen Ackles, it's a fucking fine man right there. That's a man's man right there. I love him. He's great. But now we're going to get into the spoilery section of the movie, so you have been forewarned. We're moving forward. Now, this movie is only an hour and a half. Short, simple. It's pretty easy. You know, you could easily finish this, no problem. Like I said, wish it was a little bit longer. It would be nice. But this movie has a pretty ridiculous cold open that, honestly, I was like, wow, you guys fucking did that. Like, it really, really sets you up for what the hell you're about to go through. And I like that. And of course, that's the whole point of cold openings. But man, this one was fucking wild. All right, so we start out in the woods where this movie is definitely going to take place. It's very foggy. You're following this teenager who's just, and she's kind of young. Like, I don't know, I would say maybe 16, 17, probably somewhere around that age range. And she's walking around in the woods. You know, she's like, you know, there's shots of her. There's like blood coming from her a little bit. She's obviously like distraught, just kind of wandering the woods. And she's being followed by these people. And you see them like in the background. And she even starts to hide a little bit. But this person's walking around looking for her with a shotgun. So automatically you're like, whoa, shit. Like, all right, what's going on here? Because we already have the gist of the layout of how these movies go. But we don't know exactly what's happening when somebody's already walking around with a boomstick and this girl is just hiding and bleeding. And while this girl is hiding, out of nowhere, you just see a cut of this man just standing behind her and gets like a burlap sack just immediately over the head and just slams her straight to the ground, full on restraining her as much as he possibly can. And I thought it was about to get full on deliverance in here or something, because I mean, you see like two like hillbilly kind of guys, and in the middle of the woods, it's dark, and you got this chick in a dress and a burlap sack. It's getting a little rapey, you know? Like, I'm getting that vibe, like something not so chill is about to happen, and I'm not digging it. But none of that happens, thankfully. So he lays into her one time, and out cold, snap cut. And now this is where you definitely start to see the tone of the movie start to show, because we have a POV through the burlap sack of the girl trying to figure out what's going on, and you can just see stuff moving around. And then you can hear like a little bit of praying, and there's these people, and they're in like a basement or something, and you just see dead cats just hung up from the ceiling, which is kind of fucked. I know I'm allergic to cats, and I'm not the biggest fan of cats, but I do have a cat now. I am the owner of a black cat, and that's something I would not like to see happen. I was traumatized as a kid, and well, this is going to be one of those moments where I veer off. This Evil Dead movie just reminded me of this traumatic moment that I definitely forgot about. So I don't know if it was like a subconscious thing. I just decided to forget about it. You know, one of those repressed memories. But I had this uncle on my dad's white side of the family, you know, so pretty country, you know, we're in Georgia, and they had these cats, just outdoor cats. And thing is, they were constantly like breeding. So there were so many. Like, it was just one of those uncontrolled things. I can't remember how old I was. I want to say I was definitely less than 10. I don't know exactly how old. But one day I was coming home from school, you know, I'm walking up, and there's this like little stone steps that lead up to the back door. So obviously that's where I'm going. And I see a kitten. I'm like, oh shit, you know, there's a kitten on the steps. And my uncle comes out, and I didn't know at this time he was going around fucking just killing the cats. But he just looks and he's like, oh, okay. And then like walks back in, comes out, and then he just has a double barrel shotgun. So he comes, he slowly steps down a little bit. The kitten's just right there. I didn't fully process in my mind what the fuck was about to happen. Like, I saw him, but I just didn't, it didn't click in my brain that was about to happen. So he just comes across, and he just like lightly like moves it, you know, still holding it down by his side. So he's standing above this thing, just lightly moves it, just aims it over the top of the fucking kitten, and just fucking blasts it right there. Just, it was one of the most disgusting and disturbing things I've ever seen in my life. And this movie made me remember that happened. And it's like, holy shit, my uncle is a terrible person. And yeah, they are. They've done some shitty things other than that, but I'm not going to get into all that. But I have no contact with that side of the family, so I'm perfectly okay. So yeah, very disturbing moment in my life. Yeah, that was something. back to the movie. But yeah, so you see all these cats. So obviously they're doing some prayer, a little bit of a ritualistic thing. You see some shots of the Necronomicon. Now, one thing I want to state, in Army of Darkness, now, I only ever saw this Evil Dead 1 and 2. That was it. It took me a long time to see Army of Darkness, and I watched that probably last year or the year before. So in my head, these were all the same book, and I tried doing research. I see conflicting stuff all the time. I'm not exactly sure what's what, but in Army of Darkness, you see there are 3 books, and I take it as, okay, there we go. In this one, this is a different book, and there was obviously a different book in the first one and the second one. You know, they were definitely a variation, but I took it up because I know in the original Evil Dead, Sam Raimi wanted to do a second one, obviously, but because of some rights and all this other stuff, he couldn't use a lot of the same stuff. So he just full on recreated a lot of the events in part 2. So if you've seen the movie, you know how different and how weird it was. But I mean, he did what he had to do. He wanted to make a movie, and he did, and he wasn't going to let anybody get in the way, and I'm glad he did that. What a fucking bamf right there. So that's why, like, there's this weird continuity going on with the whole franchise, but I'm going to assume this is it, that this is one of the books. So, and I know in Evil Dead Rise, there's a whole other one that has teeth. That is definitely a different book. So I think we've seen all 3 books already. But if anybody knows better, that happens to know the exact, I don't know, like what is the actual continuity, feel free, please let me know. I would love to know. But this Necronomicon, I think it's the coolest one. Like when you first see it, you see these images and the sketches, and it looks so cool and demonic. Like everything looks, oh, like it's, I don't know, it's creepy, and I love it. It's a very interesting Book of the Dead. Nowhere near Brendan Fraser's The Mummy, like that Book of the Dead, where it's like the black and gold and the key to unlock. Nowhere near that. This thing's like bound in skin. It's like wrapped with skin. It's stitched together. Like, yeah, it's a very gross looking book, but it looks awesome, and I love the sketches inside. But you start to get the gist of what's going on. Like, okay, so this girl is tied up to this pillar, and the people that tied her up, one of them is her dad. And he's saying, you know, like, this is something we got to do, you know, not really be afraid. You know, he's trying to be a dad, but also very terrified. He starts to like douse her with like a bit of gasoline or something to light her on fire, because it shows one of the ways to kill a deadite is to dismember it, full on burial, or burning it. Like, you know, just ashes to ashes, dust to dust, between you and me, pizza crust, you know, like that's just, it's just one of those fucking things. I don't know. And so when he's getting ready to just like light her on fire, the deadite comes out, and the creepiest deadites. I think this movie definitely has the scariest deadites. They look so gnarly, and it's like, oh man, I love it. They look cool. Which every movie, their deadites respectively look great. I personally like this one. And the dad, he knows what he has to do. So he gets scared, drops the match, sets her on fire, and then she's just cussing him out and just going ham on this dude and just laughing while she's like burning. She's getting the full-on episode 3 Anakin Skywalker on Mustafar treatment, and it is wow. And this is one of those moments where the CGI is kind of like, you know, it still holds up, but it's CGI. You know it's CGI. And he gets the fucking boomstick and just aims it up at her, and then just blam. And then we get to this pretty awesome title card. Now, I never really paid attention to title cards. It wasn't until, and oddly enough, until Evil Dead Rise. Holy shit. If you've seen it, you know that Evil Dead Rise title card, fucking amazing. I think that is probably the best title card I've ever seen in my life. I mean, I now have to like go back and actively look at all the other movies and the title cards I love. Like, it makes me think of The Thing. I love The Thing's title card. That one's awesome, and it was done in a very interesting way that I cannot explain, but I've seen the video on it. Looks amazing, very well executed. This one was done amazingly, and I may not like the movie too much, but man, that fucking title card goes so goddamn hard, man. Shit. Like, I think it's fucking amazing. Like, oh, like, I love these technical aspects. And I'm glad places like YouTube, TikTok, all these other things have just started to make people really appreciate cinematography and the behind the scenes a lot more than what they used to. Before, you only really cared about the actors and the movie itself. Now, people are so into the technicalities of special effects, audio, like so many things. If you guys never gave a shit about title cards, look at the Evil Dead Rise one. That was amazing. I think from that point on, you're going to start judging them just like I'm going to now. And it was done incredible. This one is pretty cool. Not as cool as that one, but this one was pretty damn good. All right, so now we're starting on present day. So David and his girlfriend, Natalie. Now they're the last ones to show up. Him and Mia have been estranged for a while. And it says later in the film, the reason they had this, this gap between them is because he left to go have a life and she stayed and had to watch their mother, continuously be sick and eventually pass. And he wasn't around for all that. So obviously it's going to create a gap. It is such a terrible feeling when you can't be there for somebody when they're dying. It was, dude, I had one of those. It is one of the worst things ever. And it was definitely one of the worst days of my life. This is me going off tangent. I'm just going to touch on it a little bit because I'm not going to fucking cry about it. But definitely one of the worst days of my life was when I got a call about a relative that was dying, and they were somebody I was pretty close with, and it was like the middle of the night, and it was just this. It was such a bad time. I was in an argument with one of my best friends at the time, and we were just outside arguing, and then I got this phone call. I'm like, what? Like, God, what the fuck is going on now? Because they just kept calling me, and nobody calls me unless it's an emergency. I firmly believe in that. It's like, I mean, if you want to call me as a friend, yo, that's cool. I really appreciate it, but I'm automatically going to assume it's an emergency because that's probably the main reason I'm going to call somebody is if it's an emergency and I need to talk to you right the fuck now. But that was the case this time. I picked it up and I was hearing from another relative. This person's at the hospital and they're not doing very well. It's going really bad and they're most likely about to. And while we were on the call, they passed away and I guess they just couldn't really do anymore. And I was just begging and pleading, like, yo, please, like, put them on the phone, like put it next to them. I want to tell them I love them. Like, it was like, please, I'm just begging over and over, like, give me the chance to like say something. And they couldn't. It was, fuck. It was already too late. So it was one of the worst days ever. And I had to go wake my parents up in the middle of the night. Specifically my mom, because it was my grandmother that was passing away and it was on the Mexican side of my family, so obviously very close. My abuela she was a woman, she was something, she was fucking hilarious, an excellent woman. She definitely had her faults, don't get me wrong, but she was a blast. She was an incredible family member, I will say that. She was a very crucial part. She was the glue that held our big family together, and unfortunately when she passed, like, factions formed. It's just one of those things. She kept everyone in check and kept everyone together. But yeah, that was one of the worst moments. I had to go wake up my mother and tell her that her mother passed away, and holy shit, dude, that was the worst night of my life. It's something I never ever want to do again. And hopefully I never have to. I know there's going to be other worst days of my life in the future, but that was definitely, that's definitely up there, man. That is like number one, and it fucking sucks. So having that separation like that between these two characters, that type of thing, it's like, I can understand because I saw it firsthand, that type of resentment and divide between siblings happened because like I said, it started a whole thing. And we were living in Georgia at the time. This happened in Florida, where I am now, but now it's like it was just so much. It was something. But oh man, God, this fucking sucks. All right, but I'm gonna move past that. But yeah, so they have this divide. They're all like, reuniting, saying hi, and then there's Eric, who's not too thrilled about what's going on. He's like, yeah, you're here, but it's like, you should have been here. You stop fucking with us a long time ago, you know? So he's a little salty about it. Eric is a very, I guess, controversial character in this movie, and you'll see why later. But they're like, yeah, you know, good to see you, blah, 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 small catching up and here and there. And he eventually talks to Mia, and it's, you could feel not like the tension, but you feel the disconnect where it's like those type of conversations where they're trying to like break the ice. And it's funny because the first time that we see Mia, she is actually sitting on like the classic car. Evil Dead 1, 2, and Army of Darkness, it's Ash's car. And it was in Sam Raimi's Spider-Man trilogy as Uncle Ben's car, which I thought was pretty awesome. It was also in 2009's Drag Me to Hell, also directed by Sam Raimi, which is a great horror movie with one of the horror daddies, Justin Long. I love Justin Long. He's in there, and you know how Justin Long horror movies go. And the most recent cameo of the Delta 88 would be in Doctor Strange 2 Multiverse of Madness. It was floating around in one of the universes. I guess that had an incursion and just started to like tear apart. And I immediately knew it when I saw it because it was very obvious. It was just floating down the center of like the scene. And I love that he keeps doing that. I mean, my personal favorite car, I like an El Camino. That could just be the Mexican in me, but I think they're fucking cool, and I would like to see more El Caminos. I don't know why we don't. I don't know what the hell that's about, but I would do the same thing if I was him. That's awesome. And I think that's pretty cool. He keeps paying homage to his baby. But now on to the next scene. They're gathered around this well, and Mia has this moment where she gets to talk about exactly why she's there. She's happy for her friends being there with her, her family, and she has heroin on her, which I don't know why nobody took from her, but I thought that was kind of like, oh, okay. But she has like this little bag of heroin, and she talks about how she's there. She means it this time. She wants to get better, and she's never going to touch the shit again. So she pours it down the well and just drops the little baggie. And there is this moment where Olivia and David talk, and she tells him how this is not the first time and that she needs him to be strong and to be on their side, when inevitably that she is going to break and that they're going to need his support, because he did drive there, so he does have access to a car. They want to make sure he doesn't give in, you know, because he is trying to have a relationship with his sister, and to not just do it out of guilt or anything. But they tell him, and this is where they drop the bomb. And like I said, I like how they did this as a good reason for them to stay. They said, and by they, I mean the disgruntled friend, Eric, and also Olivia, they tell David, this isn't the first time, and she legally died last time she tried to quit, but then immediately went on a bender right after she couldn't take it. So they're saying this time is the last time, that if she were to get back on the shit again, she's most likely gonna die, and there's just nothing that they can do about it. So they're being serious about staying, and they're gonna stick it out to the very end until she gets over however long it actually takes for you to kind of get through the withdrawals in the beginning. I don't know. She's going cold turkey, so I can imagine it's not a fucking fun time. And obviously the cabin hasn't been well kept, so it looks like shit and most likely smells like shit. And we already know what happened down below, but they don't know that yet. But Mia, she automatically picks up that there is a stench, that something smells gross, like something is fucking dead. But everyone else, they don't really smell it, so they're kind of like, it's just your symptoms. You know, you're really sensitive right now, so it's nothing. But they have a remarkable dog named Grandpa. And this is going to be a trigger warning. And I know there is a website for this. It's called Does the Dog Die? So if you guys don't really like seeing those types of things, definitely check it out. You know, it'll let you know like what happens. It gives like a trigger warning for that type of thing. But there is a dog in this movie. Unfortunately, it does not end well. So that really sucks. But there is this dog, and he's able to pick up on it too. Grandpa knows there's some fishy shit going on. So he's pulling at this rug, and then that's when they see there is actually this like cellar door, like trap door type of deal, and there's all these like dry blood marks around it. And then Mia is automatically validated because I fucking told you, like something smells fucking dead. And this is when a few of them venture in there, and they see all these cats just hanging from the fucking ceiling, like I believe like with barbed wire, a few other things. So obviously not a great scene, but they do see like the pillar that was set on fire from the beginning. So, you know, yeah, that's where all that shit happened in the cold opening. So funky stuff is going on there. And then they see the book, Now, I like how the book was presented. It's like wrapped in this trash bag, like black plastic bag, and it's also like wrapped in barbed wire. And I think it looks really fucking cool like that way. Like, I don't know. But of course, horror movie fashion, they bring it up. And Eric is going to be the one that fucks shit up for everyone. He's the one that's like super intrigued of what's going on and like, what's this? Because he is a college teacher, if I remember correctly. So I guess like a professor, and he takes an interest in it. So he starts opening up things, and he's the one that eventually reads the book. And obviously everyone knows you're not supposed to fucking do that. You don't read the Book of the Dead, but granted, he doesn't really know, but he should know because there is blatant writing in the book, like with like red pen or like red ink, telling you, do not open this, do not read this, do not say this. And there's even like words like scribbled out to make sure nobody could see them. But because these things are like kind of carved into the book, he has a really smart idea, gets paper, gets some lead or like lead pencil, and just starts scribbling over it to get like the impressions of the word. And that's when he just starts fucking reading everything. And during this, Mia is starting to feel the effects of the withdrawals. So she's outside in the fucking cold, while it's raining. And while he's reading this, you get that amazing POV, that's that iconic Sam Raimi POV of the spirit just going through the fucking woods. And even I recreated this on Fortnite when they added Evil Dead, and I am very fucking proud of it. I thought I did a really, really good job. I don't really care. Like, I might include that just for a second in here. But you get that moment, and once he finishes reading it, you see the camera just like go straight up to her, and she just immediately like vomits. And at this point, I'm not entirely sure. I don't think she's being possessed or anything, but obviously she's being haunted, of course, and definitely trying to break down like her spirit, her will. I know that's one of the things that they talk about in movies, is that's why, and that's the excuse for everything taking so long to finally amp up. But because they want to break down her spirit, they want to make her weak so they can enter the body. You break down the mind, spirit, body, you do all of that, you can possess that person. So I feel like that's kind of what's going on. Body's already weak. I feel like her mind isn't, and her spirit, maybe, I don't know. But we're not exactly sure this movie's playing by those rules. And she just feels like, you know what? I can't take it. I can't do it here. I cannot do this here. I have to go. I have to get out of here. I want to go home. And there's this whole back and forth between her, David, and the friends, because she's telling David, like, you're here for me. You're not here for them. I want to go home. And she's obviously sick. And he eventually sides with her. And this like ruptures what little relationship they were trying to form, because she feels betrayed because he's taking sides with them. But I don't blame him. I mean, I would do the same exact thing. I would just be like, nope, you're staying here. That's it. That's end all be all. You're going to get through this. Like, we got to save you, man. Like, you can't do it yourself. So that's her reason. And just like, fuck everybody. Takes the keys, drives off. And she's kind of freaking out the whole time because, it's raining, it's kind of foggy. And of course, she's going through her withdrawal. She's having all these symptoms. So she's having like a full on lashing out moment while she's driving. And she's driving one of their cars. So I don't know what type of car this was, but it wasn't the Jeep that David and his girlfriend pulled up in. So she's driving, and then boom, girl, like the wearing the white. I think this might be the girl from the beginning. I'm not exactly sure. And this could just be me. I tried researching it. I can't really tell by the credits, but you do see like some like deadite, like spirit type of things. And a lot of them just look like Mia. So I don't know if they're just like manifestations of Mia before she gets possessed. I don't know. That could just be me, but they just look alike. And I have a feeling it is Mia. But she gets this vision of this girl standing in the middle of the road. So she freaks out, slams into this pond and knocks herself out, and then wakes up trying to crawl out. And in a very cool, like scary way, she's crawling through the mud trying to get out. And then she can like hear something. So she's looking around. She looks behind her, and you already see like the formation of the pond and the mud and like sticks and stuff. And you're looking around. And if you're a horror fan and post paranormal activity, you can't help but analyze every fucking corner of the screen, looking for like, okay, what's here? What's missing? Like what's wrong in this shot? And nothing's happening. And then out of nowhere, like in the foreground, you just see like this mud and this figure just immediately lift up and just like start like reaching and like crawling. And it is so freaky, and it did a very good job. But it's this girl covered in mud just like crawling towards her, and she just freaks the fuck out, and it becomes this little bit of a chase that's going on. And her running away and all that eventually leads to her falling in the woods and also getting tied up in all these like vines, like twigs. Like I don't really know, but it's just like thick stuff, and she gets wrapped around. And if you've seen the original, you already know what's going to happen. The original has this very, I guess you would say, infamous or notorious rape scene with a tree. It's very weird. I don't understand it. It's something. But in this one, it's a little bit different. The trees hold her in place. Like they wrap around her in all these different ways. Like full on bondage moment. Like without a doubt, there's one of you kinky motherfuckers out there that like this scene. And I'm judging you, but not really. But you see a close up of the figure, and it's just like breathing, just like fast, like fucking like chest pumping, like fucking Shakira or something. It opens its mouth, and you see like this fucking entity just come out, and it's like a mix of this like black bile and like twigs, and it just starts crawling down, and it eventually just goes up her leg and just like right up in there. Mia screaming, and then also the Deadeye itself are like both like screaming, and this amazing like orchestra cue goes. The little needle drops of like the theme, like the orchestra theme, creepy, scary, powerful, very good shit. They did a great job on that. So all of that happening at this one time. But eventually she's back at the cabin, and she obviously told her friends like, yo, there was something in the woods. I was being chased by this and that. They don't believe her because they already know, like, all right, she's just making up stuff. She's lying. And David's on the fence because he's seeing this stuff for the first time. So he's like, I want to help her. Like, I love her. I have to help her. And she just keeps repeating, I need to get out of here. Things aren't okay. Like, something's here. Something's around us. Like, we need to go. But he lets her be. You know, they're all trying to figure out exactly what the hell to do. And Jane Levy plays such an excellent scared person. Like, she does phenomenal. Like, you can believe this chick is terrified, and I love that. She does an incredible job. She shined in this movie. She did a great job. Her performance is amazing. And you get this really neat jump scare where she like looks into the mirror, and you would think it's gonna be her, but no, it's like Deadeye her just staring at her, and just like flicking its tongue. Like, oh dude, it's so weird. But it just reminds me of the scene from Scary Movie 2, where like the priest and the girl that was playing like Reagan was just like flicking their tongues back and forth. They were doing that. So it was something. It was a little weird. And during all that, Eric is still like messing around with the fucking Necronomicon, and he starts to see these pages of something called the Abomination, a very interesting demonic creature. It's what this book could summon. And while he's doing that, David's looking around. You know, he's trying to find Grandpa. They haven't seen Grandpa in a minute, so he goes outside and he sees blood. And so he's looking around and he's trying to find Grandpa. He sees like this hole, and he finds Grandpa the dog, and is all bloodied and is just like beaten and dead. And so he's like caressing it, obviously like crying, like mortified, like what just happened? Like, you know, when did this happen? Who did this? And then he looks over and he sees this hammer, and it snaps cut. You just see Mia like just like an angled up from the ground, like shot of Mia just screaming, going ham, and like blood splattering. And it's just like, yo, fucking graphic. All right, I'm glad we don't really see it happen, but enough is there, you get the idea. So he goes to find Mia, and she's in the shower. So he has to bust through the door and then sees she has this shit turned all the way up on the heat, and it's just on her face. It's just going down and like blistering. And so everyone else is alerted that this happens, and David's like, you know what? Fuck this. Like this is gonna happen. Like, she's harming herself. I'm taking her to the fucking hospital. And she's just like a slouched over mess in the car whenever he's driving her. But around that time, Eric's like, wait a minute. I fucking saw this somewhere. So while he goes and looks at the book, he sees that there is an illustration of somebody that has like a cauldron. I don't know, cauldron? Like, I don't know, like the witchy pot has that, and it's just like pouring boiling water on them. And there's writing where it's like boiling water on the body. So he sees like, oh shit, that's what just happened. So now he starts to see, oh, there's a pattern to these things that's about to happen. And David is driving Mia, and just like in the original, how when they try to get out, but in the original, you know, the bridge was like all destroyed and crumpled up. This one, you just see like there's this giant river just flowing in between on the road, and obviously dirt roads and stuff. So no way they're fucking getting out of there. So he has no choice but to drive back to the cabin. So now they're back at the cabin. She's in the room, you know, they're trying to take care of her a little bit. David's talking to everybody like, yo, okay, like we just got to wait it out for the rain to stop, and then we can get her out of here. Like everything's going to be okay. He's trying to reassure everyone. And then Eric's just straight up like, nothing's been okay. Everything has not been okay since we got here. And it probably has something to do with all the shit in the basement. And he talks about the book. And while they're all talking, and you see Mia just coming up, and she has the fucking shotgun. I'm assuming the same one that was used in the beginning. They're all kind of frozen because the chick that's going through a lot of shit right now and was already harming herself, and the one that killed a dog, so homicidal. And this is around the time she's definitely possessed. You start to see her twitching and stuff. And so she just raises the shotgun, shoots David in the arm, and that's when everything just fucking goes wild. You start to hear these demonic voices, the chants, very similar to the original. And there's even like some cameos from an old cast member there, Cheryl, if I remember her correctly. And Mia's just like screaming, the door slams open, there's like all this wind, everything's blowing around, like, oh shit, like shit's getting like fucking bonkers right now. And Mia just ends it with like, oh yeah, you're all gonna die tonight. And so she passes the fuck out right after delivering that very heartfelt message. The shotgun's like right next to her. Olivia goes up and tries to snatch it. And at that moment, she gets grabbed by Mia, and they're just like tussling around, and Mia just gets on top of her, just blows chunks of like this red goo. I don't really think it's blood, but it's like orangey, red, like chunky goo all up in her face. It is so fucking gross, dude. But it happens, and we already know like, oh man, Olivia's next. Like she's chalked, bro. Like that's it. But Olivia's a fucking trooper, man. Like they're right next to that hatch. Olivia just fucking just full on just like kind of like hip throws her in there a little bit, like while she's on the ground. She sends that bitch to hell. And it's funny enough because like one of the next shots, you see Eric going to close the damn thing, and you know she just got thrown down the fucking steps. She's just standing there a few steps down, like just kind of obscured with some of the shadows. She's just standing there just straight. And that is fucking creepy, but that is a good shot. And then now we're cutting to Olivia, who's trying to clean herself off like in the bathroom. And in front of her, the medicine cabinet like mirror just starts to close. And her reflection is like a deadite her, with just all of this missing, like her cheeks and like her lips. So it's all like teeth, and it's just like bleeding. And she's about to leave the bathroom, and then you get a shot of the book turning the pages, and you see another illustration of somebody like with a knife, and then like their face in the other hand, and you just see like they skin their face. Like I said, awesome illustrations. Whoever designed the book or did all of that, fucking amazing, dude. I really want a replica of the Necronomicon, of this version of the Necronomicon. And the moment she's walking, she just like stops in place, and it's kind of like shaking, and you see her like twitching, like her face like twitching, just like how Mia was just a little while ago. And then like another like very weird shot, and you just see like piss like running down her leg, being possessed, bodily functions out the fucking window, which makes me wonder, did she like shit herself as well? If she peed herself, like, did she poo? I just want to know. I'm just kind of curious. So, answer some of the questions. Then Eric goes to check on her, and then this is where you start to hear like this serrating noise, and it's like, oh, dude, it's so unpleasant to the ear, but that's the point. And the light's like flickering in the bathroom, so it's getting kind of dark, and she's knelt down in the shower. Eric eventually goes up to her and tries to get her attention, and you just like see her like turn, and she already has like half of her face like cut, like cheek and mouth just like cut. He's freaked the fuck out and trying to like find a way to get away. But in another really gross but cool idea, some of her skin, like her flesh, is already on the floor. So he's backing away in disbelief, like some shit is going on, because she has Sith eyes too. And while he's doing that, he like slips on her skin, a very painful thing, falls on his back onto the toilet, and it like immobilizes him. He has a hard time getting away. The deadite Olivia is like coming up to him, and he's just trying to like crawl the fuck away. And so what she starts to do, there's like this syringe, because I believe she's a doctor or a nurse, if I remember correctly, and she just starts fucking stabbing him all up in the face with a fucking syringe, dude. It is so like, it makes you cringe. And I'm not trying to rhyme. I know I got bars, but I'm not trying to rhyme right there. And I believe this was a shot that was in the trailer a lot, where he eventually like is able to get her off, and he's pulling out the damn syringe from like under his eyelid, like right there, just pulling it out. It's like, oh, dude, so gross. She's coming towards him again, like on the ground, like crawling, and he gets the toilet, like the top thing of the toilet, and just fucking beats her with it. And it's just like kind of like screaming out like, oh my God, like I just fucking did this. And then David's the person that comes up and sees the aftermath of all of that. So it is fucking gnarly. So David patches him up, and then that's where Eric finally goes, you know what? I read something from the book. I probably shouldn't have. I think I cursed all of us. Yeah, you fucking did, Eric. You really did. You stupid motherfucker. Eric was dumb. He made a lot of dumbass decisions. Yeah, he did. But holy shit, does this man go through it in this movie. There is so much that happens to this guy. You kind of feel bad. You're like, bro, horror characters definitely deserve some karma. But man, I feel bad for Eric a little bit here and there. He goes through so much shit. Like, he read the Necronomicon. Yes. He screwed everyone over. Yes. He got Mia possessed. Yes. But damn, dude, this guy goes through everything. He gets stabbed in the face with a syringe. He gets beaten with a crowbar. He gets shot with a nail gun. I felt bad for him. I don't know what he deserved for doing that, but it's like, I can't even say he deserved to get stabbed right there, because it's like, maybe somebody should have slapped the shit out of you. Maybe, maybe punched. Maybe you stepped out of line, you said something, you got decked. Kind of like every other movie ever where they do that. But damn, he goes through so much, and then he gets possessed at the end as well and blown up. So it's like, oh my God, Eric, Jesus, man, like, I feel so bad for you, but it's like you brought this on yourself. But while they're having that moment, fucking Mia is talking to Natalie, and Natalie's just trying to be like a good girlfriend, you're David's sister. Like, oh, okay, I don't really know what's going on. So she goes down there to check on her because, she's doing the deadite thing where they play like a human being. They play normal. But she's, facing away from the opening, just sitting on the steps. She goes down there and she gets bit. She bites Natalie. And Natalie's like, okay, fuck this. Like, I'm going to get the fuck out of here. And she's able to arm herself with a box cutter. So she like extends it all the way and is trying to like fight her off. Like, she's fucking scared. And Mia's just like crawling up to her all creepily. And this was another thing in the trailer. I think definitely the Red Band trailer, which Red Band trailers, great, man. I'm glad they have those. And if you don't know what they are, that's just where they can actually cuss. They can show all the blood, gore. They can show a lot of stuff that they normally can't in trailers that are meant to show like, during actual commercials and stuff. But Mia full on grabs that thing and just fucking just splits her tongue, like forked tongue. So gross, so bloody. Like, oh, dude, that's another like cringy thing. Like, eek. Like, everybody has their ick. And because of this happening with the forked tongue and the box cutter, that's very like cringe inducing. But for me, my thing in horror movies and just any type of movie ever, anything with the Achilles tendon. Oh, dude, God, I will cringe so hard. Like, oh, I feel disgusting. Oh, dude. Not a lot gets to me. I've seen a lot of stuff on the internet. I grew up on the internet, obviously. So I don't get too bugged out by seeing that type of stuff. I've seen a lot and I'm not that phased. But for some reason, just seeing something with the Achilles tendon, like that's not for me, my dude. That's just not my thing. It's gross. It's disgusting. I don't like it. And another thing is anything with nails. Anything with fingernails, I don't like. You see them like falling off, peeling off, getting yanked off. Don't like it, dude. It is, God, dude, just thinking about it, it's already making me gross. But yeah, I don't like those things. And she does that. But I mean, forked tongues are kind of hot. But on a Deadite, just doing it itself right there, like in front of you on screen, yeah, not my bread and butter, you know, not my PB&J. It's not me. It's a no. That's another thing that's kind of gross, but very effective, very creepy. But you gotta love the goriness of horror movies, man. I know I do, and I'm glad I get a little like squeamish sometimes. It's great. It sucks I don't get scared at horror movies anymore, but if I can at least be grossed out, I'm all in, man. Thumbs up. Thumbs way up. But David's able to help her get out of that situation, and they just say, fuck it. We're going to nail it down. We're going to have some chains, a padlock. She's not coming out of there. Nobody's opening that shit. And Eric's trying to do the right thing now. He's trying to burn the book, but obviously it can't, just like how you can't burn Ouija boards, supposedly. I don't really know. I don't know. Am I superstitious? I'm a bit 50-50 on it. I have no idea. Like, I don't know. I believe in aliens, you know, when it comes to angels, demons, spirits, all that other stuff, that's all up in the air. I don't know. But am I going to go out and mess with a Ouija board? No, I'm good. I'm going to sit this one out. That's just me. Yeah, so that's not my thing. I'm not going to do that because I don't want my first time messing with something and then I get possessed and then something's going to fucking kill me or like something's going to harm like my family or something. I don't want to do that. You know, I'm good. I'm chill. Now, I may not mess with Ouija boards or anything, but something I would do from a horror movie, I'm not gonna lie, I'd probably do the talk to me hand. And speaking of that, my girlfriend actually bought this. We got a replica of the hand. And if you can see it on YouTube or anything, glad you like it. But this I would probably do, like holding onto this and like letting a spirit, like seeing a spirit and like letting it possess you for a little bit. And then that's it. Sure. I'm not going to go overboard. You know, I'm not going to be like, oh yeah, I'm going to do it so many times. No, but like if I could see one, like, yo, I don't know. Like, I love you. I don't know who Terry, yo, put it in reverse. Terry, like fucking Terry's on here. What a cameo. That's what I would do. I would mess with this. I would say, you know, like talk to me. There we go. I would do that. Ouija board. Nah, I'm good. I would do this though. Ouija board, you can't trust. A lot of times, at least from what I know, you can't see him and stuff. I'm not going to do all that, bro. I want to see who I'm talking to. I'm more of an in-person type of thing. I want some FaceTime. Ouija board's a no. All right, so skipping all that. So yeah, so the very next thing is whenever they're talking about this book, while that's happening, you can see that Natalie's arm is full on mutating and like rotting. It's becoming a dead-eyed arm. Like the infection is spreading. And Mia is instigating it like all the way, you know, from under. And Natalie automatically, she's a bamf, you know, in her own right. She knows what she has to do. She's like, my arm is a lost cause. She has this little saw thingy right here that's used to cut meat. Fuck it. Like, I got to get rid of this thing. Like, this thing is like spreading out my arm. And Mia's just telling her, like, don't cut it. And so she fucking goes ham and just starts sawing away at that damn thing. And I think she, like, trips the power or something. I mean, I don't really know, but all the power just, like, cuts out. Eric's like, fuck this, you know, I want to right or wrong. Like, if you're not going to do it, I'm going to do it. And then out of nowhere, Natalie, she just comes up with Sith eyes, man. And she has nails all up in her face. And she has the nail gun. So she just starts shooting at them. And it's this whole like battle right there. And this is where Eric gets fucked up with the nail gun and beaten with a crowbar. So it's pretty insane. And the shotgun's around as well. And David's able to get it. And he just blows off her fucking arm. And the Deadite pulls this like sentimental, like tearing at the heart type of thing. It stops possessing Natalie. And so Natalie is just in so much pain. with all these nails in her face, her arm blown off, one arm just cut off. And so she's like crying, just sobbing and bleeding out in David's arms. Right after the death of his girlfriend, he's like, all right, I know what I got to do. I got to burn this fucking place down. So he's pouring gasoline everywhere and he's about to set it on fire. But then he hears Mia singing like an old song from their childhood. It was like a lullaby that their mom used to sing. So he decides, you know what? All right, I'm not going to set her on fire. I can do something else. So he has the idea to just bury her and then like resuscitate her. So whenever he goes downstairs to go collect her, she attacks him with that box cutter that he had earlier. And Eric comes to the rescue, tries to help save him. So he intervenes and tries to help. But honestly, I feel like so much has happened to this dude. He just couldn't take it anymore. So that last moment of fighting her off, and David actually got to drug her with some of the medicine that Olivia brought, to help with her going through the withdrawals. And he just succumbs to his wounds. So Eric finally dies. And then this is where we move on to where David's going to start to bury her. And then while he's like digging this grave, lightning strikes this tree and it's just burning like right in front of the grave that he's digging up. And her body is already in there. And it's so fucking funny. I love this part because like 1 minute you see she's knocked out and then it's cutting back and forth while he's doing the dirt. And then you see her, she's awake. And one of the lines she says, she's like, "Why do you hate me, David?" And it's just so fucking nonchalant. And I don't know why, but I die laughing at that part every single time. And whenever he fully covers her, that's when the fire on this tree goes out. So that's where he assumes, okay, this is over now. So then he digs her up and then resuscitates her. It fails, but just like any other movie, she's alive. So technically she died. So curse lifted. She's alive now. They like, okay, like we need to get out of here. And then while they're getting ready to leave, Deadeye Eric comes in and just stabs David in the neck with like some pliers. And they're just like, shit, it's still here. We didn't get rid of it because there was another person that died by a Deadeye. It's transferred one to another. So the curse is still there. And David's just like, you know what? Like, fuck it. Like, gets her out and it's like, you need to go on. You need to get out of here. And there's still like the gas cans and all that stuff he had earlier that he was going to burn the place down. So he just takes the shotgun and just blows it up and sets the whole cabin on fire. So that should be the end of it, right? Wrong. The way to summon the abomination, which this book is supposed to do, it is said to collect 5 souls. Now, technically, it did. It had Eric, Natalie, David, Olivia, and Mia technically died. So that's the 5 souls right there. So Mia is standing outside just kind of like mourning her brother. And then this is where the 50,000 gallons of blood comes in. From here to the very end, it just starts raining blood. Out of nowhere, the abomination reaches its hands out. And very reminiscent of the original poster where you see like somebody like reaching out from like a grave or like just the ground. So pretty awesome. It grabs her hand and it's just like burning her hand. Like you see the steam and stuff. And this battle ensues. And this is where you see Mia like come into her own. This chick is going through withdrawals, a possession, died, came back, and now has to fight off a fucking demon. I'm not going to go like shot for shot of what happens, but she's able to like cut off the leg of the demon, because it is walking around kind of slow, which I don't really understand why. And she's hiding under the Jeep when she does that. And the demon has like this fucking strength and just like one arm just like kind of tips over. And this is where we get another homage to the original. She rolls out of the way, but it slams onto her hand and she's trying to like get out from under it. But now the abomination's coming around. She can't reach the chainsaw to cut off the hand. So she just starts using her feet, pressing against the Jeep, just pulling. And you see it like tearing and she just like screams and there's blood. It's just like this whole thing. So she finally crawls away. She has the chainsaw and the abomination just crawling to her like, oh, I'll feast on your soul. And she just slams like her fucking nub into the chainsaw, like, I guess, handle to like hold it carefully as if she had 2 hands, jams it into her face and just like chainsaws, like, I guess, like maybe chest plate up or like neck up, like bottom of the neck up, just saws this thing in half, and then its body just collapses and just like sinks into the ground, and the blood is like bubbling and stuff, and it just completely engulfs him and turns into like solid ground again. The rain stops, you know, the sun shining through the trees. Pretty interesting. But and for the people that are on YouTube watching this, you can see how this is done because that image is on the front of my shirt. You see exactly where she chainsaws like that fucker in the fucking face. So yeah, pretty awesome. Yeah, that's how this movie ends, man. Favorite kill out of the whole movie, definitely the end. The abomination, fucking sick, brutal, bloody, is pretty fucking awesome. Mia, fucking badass final girl, awesome. She does a great job. Jane Levy, such a great performance. I would like to know what you guys love about it. Please let me know by all means, which movies you love more, your rankings of the movies. Let me know something, anything Evil Dead related. Let me know. I would really love to know. And I got to meet Sam Raimi. I'm going to put it up right here. I do have a physical copy that sits right next to my desk right here on the wall. I met Sam Raimi and I accidentally touched his ass. I didn't mean to, but I was like super nervous. I didn't know how we were going to pose. And I was going to put my arm behind him, like on his shoulder, like, you know, over. But I think he was going to do the same thing to me. He accidentally hit my hand and I like smacked his ass. He didn't acknowledge it. I didn't acknowledge it, but I did. And he's such a sweet guy. Oh, dude, he's a great dude. He seems so nice, very humble. And I'm glad I got to meet him. The girlfriend and I did. It was great. That's the end, man. That's this movie. I love this movie. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you enjoyed the podcast as well. I don't know what the next one's going to be, but we're going to figure it out. I'm not exactly sure. It might be Dr. Sleep. Everyone's talking about Rebecca Ferguson and Dr. Sleep, which is the sequel to The Shining. Love The Shining. One of my top favorites. So that movie is another great one, and it has Ewan McGregor, who is, love that man. Before I go, I am going to give you guys your fortune cookie. And here we go. No one can make you feel inferior without consent. Do with that what you will, ladies and gentlemen. But until next time, be excellent, be kind, subscribe to the channel.